Jesus, me is I know, for the Bible tells me so. You can't see it. Yes, Jesus, that's me. Yes, Jesus, that's me.
When is your bedtime? Hi. I'll see you in the morning, honey, okay? I'll see you when you wake up, all right? I love you.
Before he was a leader to millions, he was mine and theirs.
I have to say this without getting emotional, but I'm very proud of my husband, and I know many of you are too.
Well, I've never met anyone quite like her. I remember I called Tyler and I said he's going to have to find talent somewhere else. And Tyler was trying to coach me down because he said that she was way out of my league. And he's still right, by the way. I mean, my wife is the best person ever, and she's a patriot, and she's a believer. We don't want to have to be accountable to God when this life passes. And he asks, why did you not trust in me and not fight evil? For young people out there, if you want to find meaning, find something worth taking responsibility for.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey, fun ride.
It's just getting started.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you.
Thanks for joining the Charlie Kirk Show.
You're welcome. We should do this more often. He was 18, no money, no map, only a call from God.
My political journey was in the midst of the Obama craze in Chicago. As someone who was generally conservative, I realized this generation, millennials, is going to be the most progressive generation in history if we don't do something about this.
We're active in about 15 campuses, and we're growing very, very quickly. And keep in mind, this is not just a flash in the pan movement. We're going to become an institution to give them the power and the confidence to stand up and let their voice be heard.
I was 18, no idea what I was doing, no connections, no money, unlimited energy, enthusiasm, and I actually thought this was possible, which was kind of crazy if you think about it. Bill was one of the first people to believe in us at Turning Point USA and believe in me. After he heard me speak, he said, you can't go to college. I said, who are you exactly? He said, whatever you're doing, it's going to be bigger. He said, you're going to start a youth organization that's going to catch the whole world on fire.
Only in America can a young man with a dream change the world.
So starting in that garage in Lamont, Illinois, that Bill had for us at 217.5 Illinois Street, and growing from that forward was a battle. So the first year, you raised $20,000, which at the time was an unbelievable amount of money, right? We didn't have an office. We didn't have a staff. It was just me just traveling the country doing this, pure grit, pure energy. And I was driven by core ideas and core principles that we should be thankful, not angry, to live in this country. Would you agree? We should be thankful. We should be kissing the ground and saying we are the luckiest human beings ever to exist, that we are able to live in this country. At this time, America is the greatest country ever to exist, period, bar none, is the greatest country ever to exist, right?
He loved debate because he loved the truth and the people on the other side of the table, because they all were made in God's image.
So I go to college campuses and there's a lot of error. We're all sinners. We are all live in error. We as Christians are called to go into the public arena to correct error with truth. I'm far more interested in what God wants of me than what I want from God. I have the greatest job in the world. I couldn't be happier. Every day I feel as if what I'm saying, what I'm doing is making a difference. To be perfectly honest, I love the debate. I love the exploration of ideas. I think dialogue is a gift given to us by God. Prove me wrong. I have no notes. I have no AI. I have nothing. Tell me why you're correct. For 3 hours, I will sit there and everyone will watch. It's a gladiatorial match for the best ideas of the West.
And their needs changed him, and he changed them.
You see, you're being called upon to be a leader, let's say, that's not merely political. That's why my understanding of it.
Correct. It's an enormous responsibility. Enormous. I also need to balance, as Christ would say, being as much truth, which of course I'm inclined towards, as love. What is God's plan when I go on a college campus? I just believe I will only tell truth, I will not compromise, and I'll love on the lost.
He was no stranger to threats, to being hated, to being doubted, but he went out anyway, for America, for you.
Turning Point will live longer than me. That's my mission.
He carried his love for the nation in his hand, and in the other, he carried us.
You have worked so hard, and I know a lot of you have seen, obviously, his videos on TikTok and all the stuff he does on campus, but no one gets to see him from my angle except for myself and our children. And the sacrifices that he made this year, he's amazing. I'm very blessed.
And I would not have been able to do any of it without Erica. When it comes to your child, you are tasked to protect them both physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Once you have kids, there is this primal thing that comes into you where if you think you have worked hard before, when you have to go feed a child and provide for a family, you are willing to go to the ends of the earth and push yourself in ways that you never thought possible. And that is your initial and most important task as a father.
Every single person in this building, we owe something to Charlie. He was a joyful warrior for our country. He loved America. He devoted himself tirelessly to making our country a better place. He was a critical part of getting Donald Trump elected as president, getting me elected as vice president. And so much of our success over the last 7 months is due to his efforts, his staffing, his support, and his friendship.
The media said that Turning Point could never run a ground game. They weren't experienced. They didn't know Charlie, right?
You need tremendous talent to do what he's done. Building one of the most powerful youth organizations ever created, Turning Point USA, and I want to thank you, really, Charlie. Incredible job.
I want you to remember that we did not earn this. This is God's mercy on our country.
What he built will endure.
Taking the deep, but sometimes the difficult road is the way that you should configure your life. Getting married and having children is a difficult but deep decision that I hope every single one of you make at some point in your life. Because for every single one of you, there are a couple thousand students that wish they could speak out like you do. And courage is a choice. It takes no skill to be courageous. You might come up to the microphone and say, Charlie, I don't know my talent, I don't know my skill. The cool thing about being courageous is you just have to say, I choose to be courageous. What can I do to save the country? You answer that question every single day because you are doing the work to save this beautiful republic. You are doing something that is bigger than you.
He loved this country. He fought for this country. Now we all live to honor his fight.
What young people especially are screaming at is they say, give me a structure that I can live my life by. And especially with young men, more challenging of them, more saying, you know what, honestly, I'm not going to talk down to you. Stop being a boy and become a man. You want to learn what that means? Come to church and I'll tell you what it means to become a man. Because we have the greatest story ever told.
If everything completely goes away, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
Charlie Kirk, look what you did. No parking. No parking at all. None. Had to park like 5 blocks away from church because everyone wants to come now. Amen. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Charlie.
Out the seams this morning. Girl, it made me so happy. Okay, scooch over. We got more coming in because there's always room in heaven. Listen, hell's getting nervous.
Want to kill a young man as good as Charlie, to kill anybody, but to kill a man like this, he didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve this. Our country didn't deserve this. And anyone who would make excuses for it are just out of their mind. Charlie's murder was not just an attack on one man or one movement. It was an attack on our entire nation. That was a horrible attack on the United States of America. It was an assault on our most sacred liberties and God-given rights. The gun was pointed at him, but the bullet was aimed at all of us. That bullet was aimed at every one of us. Indeed, Charlie was killed for expressing the very ideas that virtually everyone in this arena and most other places throughout our country deeply believed in. But the assassin failed in his quest because Charlie's message has not been silenced. It now is bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and it's not even close. And it's rare that such a thing happens, but Charlie is bigger today than he was, think about it, just 2 weeks ago. He's bigger today than he was 2 weeks ago. Now, that may not help his friends and loved ones, of which there are so many. It may not help Erica and those beautiful children who have to suffer so horribly through this moment, but they know it's true. He's bigger now than ever before, and he's eternal. He's eternal. And I just want to say we love him. And he's looking down at us right now, and he's saying, wow, that's a great crowd. He's saying, that's a great crowd. And it's a great crowd of patriots. But that's why I will soon award Charlie the nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It's the highest civilian honor. And we will do the ceremony at our beautiful White House in a very safe Washington, D.C., a place that Charlie truly revered. You know, we stopped the crime in Washington, took 12 days. Now you can go to restaurants, you can walk down the middle of the street with your wife. You can have your wife walk alone down the middle of the street. She's going to be in good shape. What a difference. What a difference good management really makes. But it's, I'm so proud of that Washington, D.C. You know, it's one of the worst in the nation, in the world. And now it's considered a very safe city. And it's also, I passed it yesterday, I went through it, and the lawns are good. It's like a different place. It's like the tents are gone, the threats are gone, the gangs aren't there. We got rid of, you know, we took out 1,500 career criminals, 1,500. If you have 3 career criminals, that can make a big difference. But I'm so proud of Washington, D.C., and now we're going into Memphis. And we'll get that one straightened out fast. And then we're going into some others, but we're going to go to Chicago, and we're going to have Charlie very much in mind when we go into Chicago. And we'll get that one straightened out. You have an incompetent governor who, he thinks it's okay when 11 people get murdered over the weekend. He thinks you don't have any crime when 11 people get murdered and 28 people get shot. He says he's got crime. No, they don't have it under control, but we'll have it under control very quickly. So we're going to be doing that. And Charlie loved what we were doing. He was so proud of what happened. He was there to see it. He's so proud of what happened in Washington, D.C. As you know, the depraved assassin who planned and executed Charlie's killing has been arrested and charged with capital murder. God willing, he will receive the full and ultimate punishment for his horrific crime. It's a terrible thing. Because you can't let that happen. You can't let that happen. You can't let it happen to a country. The Department of Justice is also investigating networks of radical left maniacs who fund, organize, fuel, and perpetrate.
My granddaughter left for college in Europe. Her mother noticed that she packed a Bible. When her mother asked her why she made that choice, she said, I want to live more like Charlie. And it's, or my granddaughter left for college.
Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
Okay, one more. Hold on. Pull it up.
Not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
It was an emotional moment yesterday from the widow of Charlie Kirk during the memorial service for her late husband. Charlie, of course, quoting from Matthew, where Jesus commands us to love our enemies and to pray for those who persecute us. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It's Monday, September 22nd. With us, we have co-host of our fourth hour, staff writer at The Atlantic, Jonathan Lemire, U.S. special correspondent for BBC News and host of the Rest is Politics podcast, Scotty K, New York Times opinion columnist David French, and Rogers Chair in the American Presidency at Vanderbilt University, historian John Meacham. So tens of thousands of people, just an absolutely packed arena, including the president and top administration officials, gathered in Arizona yesterday to remember the late conservative activist Charlie Kirk. NBC News senior correspondent Garrett Haake has all the details.
President Trump closing out a day of prayer and politics at the Arizona memorial service for assassinated conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
None of us will ever forget Charlie Kirk, and neither now will history.
The president's speech following remarks by members of his cabinet and inner circle, including an emotional Vice President J.D. Vance, who was close to the 31-year-old Kirk.
I have talked more about Jesus Christ in the past 2 weeks than I have my entire time in public life. And that is an undeniable legacy of the great Charlie Kirk.
God bless all of you.
Kirk's widow, Erica, who will succeed her husband as CEO of Turning Point, the conservative youth organization he founded, speaking emotionally about her husband.
I will miss him. I will miss him so much because our marriage and our family were beautiful.
Erica Kirk saying she would not weigh in on whether the government should seek the death penalty for her husband's accused killer, telling the New York Times, quote, "I do not want that man's blood on my ledger." FBI Director Kash Patel posting a lengthy update on the investigation into alleged shooter Tyler Robinson, promising the FBI is, quote, "meticulously investigating theories and questions about the case, including some internet-fueled conspiracy theories." While back in Glendale, tens of thousands of attendees packed State Farm Stadium, home of the NFL's Arizona Cardinals, many lining up overnight to secure seats amid extensive security measures.
Wow, this is amazing. We love Charlie so much and all the work that he did in this country.
We're coming here to appreciate him and appreciate what he spoke for.
That's NBC's Garrett Haake with that report. David French, you and I actually grew up in this sort of cultural background. We attended, I don't know exactly what church services you attended, but I suspect they were a lot like mine. And so none of this sounded foreign to us. It was certainly interesting, though, the mix of religion, politics, and as Donald Trump himself said, sort of this old-time 10th revival feel. I was curious and been curious. What were your thoughts? Of course, moving beyond just the absolute horrible human tragedy of all of this. And still, I must say, all these weeks later, it's still so extraordinarily hard to come to terms with that somebody going around talking to college students would be assassinated this way.
Yeah, when you saw Erica Kirk speak, one of the first things that I thought was, this is one of the most beautiful things that I've seen, heartbreaking, heartrending. And that's what Christianity is what she did right there in front of all of those people, actually forgiving Charlie Kirk's killer, talking about the sacrifice of Jesus and Jesus forgiving his killers. And this is the heart and the core of what Christianity is, and to see it right there in that way. And I think it also helped bring home to people that we're having political arguments and political fights surrounding all of this, but at the end of the day, she lost a husband, her kids lost a father, people lost a friend. I mean, this was a horrific, horrific event. And so I think that moment was singularly powerful in communicating the gravity of the loss and also what Christianity is. But then you had all of this complexity of Trump getting up there and behaving in a very, very, very different way, also to cheers. And so what you saw here in a lot of ways was this complexity of this MAGA world and the complexity of this MAGA movement, that there are people within it and people who express ideas within it who they're beautiful, wonderful people who are caught up in this movement. And then there is this other side that is so directly contradictory of the message that Erica Kirk shared. And so that's one thing that struck me. When I watch this, I know from my own home in Tennessee, where people have just been cut to the core by Charlie Kirk's loss. And I think you could see that. You could see that in the memorial. And then you could also see this other side of it all when Donald Trump got up to speak, when Donald Trump started to address the issue. And, that is in many ways the complexity of all this that we saw in front of our eyes.
Well, it really was. I mean, there were so many times that we would hear things that, again, sound like it could come straight out of Baptist Student Union in Tuscaloosa when I would go there in college, or the Baptist churches I grew up in, talking about love and grace and forgiveness, loving our enemies, praying for those who persecute us. But then with at least the politicians, John Meacham, and the people who worked for politicians, you had another beat. It was, Charlie taught us to forgive, but, and then it would be like, oh, this is all the left wing's fault, or oh, these are people who hated and mocked and ridiculed. There were two beats, and it did sound, when the politicians got up there, it sounded very discordant. Instead of celebration of a life and talking about Jesus's words and Jesus's commandments of us to forgive others, there at times there was another tone that was taken. So I found that to be discordant. But I'm curious what you certainly could go back to the early 1800s, John, and find examples of politics and religion mixing. So this has happened before. I'm just curious, what were your thoughts yesterday as you watched this?
What I was thinking was it would be too glib, and I think there are going to be a lot of folks, I would imagine, on the center and left of American politics who will be reflexively uncomfortable with what unfolded yesterday. What I would urge is not to be reflexively uncomfortable, but to take each of those who addressed that audience, addressed the nation, addressed in many cases the world, and take their words on their own merits and in their own context. There's going to be a lot of talk. I'm sure David's email box is full of people seeking to understand this thing called Christian nationalism. But there was a feeling, particularly with Mrs. Kirk, that it was something that had a genuine, what appeared to be a genuinely religious component. And then came the president, who spoke the way President Trump speaks, and that should be considered on its merits as well. But I'm a big believer, as I think you are, Joe, that we must separate church and state. There's a religious case for that, by the way. Originally, that notion of a wall of separation between church and state, which was an image that came from Richard Hooker, an Anglican divine, came through Thomas Jefferson, and then the Supreme Court picked the image up in the 20th century. The initial point of the wall was not to protect the state from the church, but the church from the state. The original phrase was that the garden of Christ's church should not be damaged by the state. That said, religion and politics, because they're both about people, they're both about human nature, they're both about our sense of the origins, course, and destiny of life, religion and politics can't be separated. They have to be managed and marshaled. And so what we have here is, I think, particularly in the moment where Mrs. Kirk, in imitation of Christ, forgave the assassin, the only other example of that I can think of offhand in public life is when John Paul II visited his own assailant, which is a remarkable analogy and standard. I don't dismiss this, I would say to my liberal friends who might be uncomfortable with some of the imagery. There are worse things than.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, yeah. I will say, David French. It was, and again, if Pope John Paul II did that. Why we actually talked to Reverend L. Sharpton, who was stabbed in an assassination attempt. He forgave his assailant. That's a command from Jesus.
All right, boy. All right, guys and girls, men. Look, Meacham is right that that religion and politics should not be separated. Like he says, it needs to be marshaled and managed. Andrew Breitbart once said that culture runs downhill from politics, and religion runs downstream from culture. And so we need to continue fighting for these First Amendment rights and religious freedom and religious liberty, and mixing politics and religion together, because it runs downstream from politics. Religion is a part of culture. It's a part of your life. When you live, it's your lifestyle. And if we continue this now that we have the turning point, now this is the turning point in America. And as you saw in the beginning, the two clips I showed with the two people, one guy said that he had to park like 5 blocks down the road just to get to church because attendance was at its fullest and couldn't get into church. You had to walk to church, walk 3 blocks up to church. The other one the girl thought it was so full in her church that she could hardly find a place to sit. Look, let's make heaven crowded, guys. This is what heaven crowded. This is what Charlie would want. He would want to make heaven crowded and be bold and courageous in their faith. It doesn't take skill to do it. It just takes choice, as he said in his clip, to stand up at a public comment on a commissioner's meeting, to stand up in public comment on a school board meeting, or to stand up to take courage to stand up for your own faith, for Christians to find their own voice. Paul argued in the marketplace for ideas. He said, "Come," and in Isaiah it says, "Come, let us reason together." Paul said, "Let me give a defense for the faith and ideas." This is how conversations are started. This is how we change the marketplace of ideas. This is how we change the country. Right now we're in a moral decay. We got women becoming men and men becoming women, and men sleeping with men, and women sleeping with women, and this is all biblical. In Leviticus, it says, men should not wear a woman's garment, and women should not wear men's garments, and men should not lay with men, and women should not lay with women. It is completely biblical. We are living in the age of Jezebel. Jezebel was a queen who emasculated the king Ahab, and she was known for demasculating Ahab, and that's exactly what transitioning does. When you're transitioning from a male to a woman, you are demasculating them. You are tearing apart the manhood and men in this country who could have a solid family. This is a tearing apart of the nuclear family, of the nuclear Christian family, and the nuclear Christian traditional marriage, where man and woman are meant to be together, and one's to leave the family to become a family, and so forth, as it says in Genesis. And so we need more Christian men and women to speak up, to be men of the household, to be women of the household, and so forth. And we got to continue to do that. Like I said, and even this is from the I think it's the OAN newsroom for you. It says, the Charlie effect. Church attendance surges nationwide following Kirk's assassination. Then you got this. Then you see this by Scott Presler. 30% of Christians are not registered to vote. Please spend Sunday talking to people of faith about registering to vote. Look, the evangelical Christians are one of the biggest voting blocks that the Republican Party has. Please do us a favor, and on Sundays, make sure that you are talking to Christians that are not registered to vote. It's 30%, and we got churchgoers coming that we've never had before, and so forth. God is on the move, guys. Our country is going back to God, faith, and family, and church, and we are going to get back the values that we once had back in the time of our founding fathers. We are going back to that. Representative Stephanie Berkowitz of Clinton County was just speaking in front of the House today, our House committee today, how schools used to have guns in their rooms, and so forth back in the day. And she's talked to people that had that before, and she even says that guns is not the problem. It is people's hearts are the problem, and we need to get back to having the 10 Commandments in the courthouse, in the schools, and get back to classic Christian learning, and classical learning in our schools, and bringing back the faith in our country and God and country. Because if we get farther we get away from God, the more our country is going to decay. This is a callback to our country, to call back to God and our faith and our families and so forth. And it's just sad that it took an assassination at Charlie Kirk to bring us all back, when we could have started this years ago. We could have started this in 2020 when we had the corrupt, rigged elections, and we could have got back to God, faith, and family then. We could have got back to it last year when we got Trump in office and so forth. But this is the start of young Gen Zs and young Gen Z going to church and attending church services and talking to people and so forth. What else was it? So then you got this. New Republicans gain 3,000 voter registrations. 3,000 voter registrations in Pennsylvania over the past week, more than triple their previous week gains. The Charlie Kirk effect is real. Then you got this. PA weekly voter registration update, 9:15 to 9:22. Net 3,122. Overall lead 53,584. Republicans. Gain since December 2024, 76,887. It says the Charlie Kirk effect is on full display now. The GOP gained over 3K registrations, and party switching was through the roof. 1,756 D switched to R's. Wow. Then see what else I have for you. Then there's this. I ask you to register to vote as a Republican today. Pennsylvania is 56,869 voters away from flipping from blue to red. New Jersey is this many from flipping blue to red. North Carolina, this many from flipping blue. Let's flip these seats. So there you have that. This is the young Gen Z and the youth and millennials and the Gen Xers need to continue to attend church, to go back to God and speak up for your values and so forth. We need to continue to register Christians and register young Gen Zs and many others. So we need to continue to knock doors as well, as Charlie would do. As Charlie would say, onward Christian soldier. And we need never surrender. Keep fighting, because every day we are making America great. Every day we are fighting for America, because you are part of America. You are part of what makes America great. And what makes America exceptional is this young generation of youth coming to conservative values and so forth. And we need to continue to run for elections. If you're 18 and older, run for a local election office, run for school board director, run for county commissioner, run for state rep, run for township supervisor, run for mayor, run for recorder of deeds, or run for coroner or district attorney. Whatever your heart tells you to do, whatever God tells you to do. If God is calling you, you you are qualified to do it. God, because God doesn't qualify the called; He calls the qualified, or something like that. But yes, He qualifies you for the job. It doesn't matter, because look at me. I'm an average person. I have a learning disability, and I was called to do the job to run for school board. And here I am. I even have a podcast of my own. I'm not good at speaking, but here I am talking to you guys. Here I am speaking the truth, telling you the truth of what's going on and how we can get involved and how we can turn this generation around and so forth. So we need to continue to get out the vote and continue to register. Look, we had what did it say? We had it. Oh, it's not the one. That's the one either. We had 3,000 voter registrations in Pennsylvania over past week, more than triple their previous week's gains, as it says. But then you got, where was it? Then you got this. Look at this. Look at these numbers. 1,756 Democrats have switched to Republican in this past few weeks, and we have a net worth of 3,122 overall Republicans. Not only that, but Turning Point Action chapter requests are at 62,000 some chapter requests total for college and high school. The youth are going to carry this movement. You are going to carry this movement. We are going to make America great again. The youth is going to make America great again. And we're going to continue to do just that. And we're going to make sure of it as well. So we are going to make sure. God is turning back this country. Yesterday was a huge Big Tent revival for Turning Point Action, for Christians, for people that knew Charlie Kirk and respected Charlie Kirk, and the gospel was preached to millions and millions of people, not just at the stadium, but all who were watching and watching from the TVs and live streaming it on their phones. This was the biggest Big Tent revival probably since Billy Graham, probably since Jonathan Edwards and George Whitefield and many others. But this is the turning point right here, guys. This is how it is done. We're bringing back the principles of our country, the principles of our founding fathers, and so forth. Well, I leave you with something I have created. Created here. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you this. The Turning Point, and it's got Erica Kirk next to our very own President Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States. And then I made this for you guys.
I know. God is on the move, hallelujah. God is on the move in many mighty ways. God is on the move, hallelujah. God is on the move.
So there you have it. This is the turning point. This is the turning point picture, and we are going to continue to move forward, registering people, and get people involved. I think the community, I think the states and state are in a good feeling right now, and in a good position right now, and we got to go out and win in November. We got candidates on the ballot, including myself and school board and county and statewide elections and so forth. But we need to continue to keep the pressure on the left. We got to keep the pressure on the leftist and the left, and they continue to do so. At every election, there's an election almost every 6 months or so. I believe 4 to 6 months or so. I can't recall right now, but we got to keep vigilant. We got to keep informed. We got to keep being ready to vote and going out to vote. Run for a local run for your local GOP committee spots. Run for your state committee spots, and get involved. Become a young Republican for your county or whatever county you live in, and continue to do so. Continue to be vigilant and stay active and be prepared. Knock doors for campaigns, for campaign candidates and so forth. But we need to continue to get involved, guys. I need to continue to move forward, move the pin forward, and continue to bring God, faith, and family back into our country, back to where it was when the founding fathers founded this country. So there you have it, guys, and I hope you had a good day. I'm going to leave you out with this again.
I know. God is